Absolutely perfect reflections as well on the water. Always seems like very enthusiastic birds. Oh, what's it got there? Worm of some sort. What is that? A little frog. It's like a tiny little frog. Had to take a few moments to get that down the throat. Very, very quick. There's a perfect shape from the side there. You can see the sort of oddly shaped head. That's where the name is derived from, a hammerkop, hammerhead. Also like their beaks, they've got this very sort of thick, almost prehistoric looking beak. Or bill is maybe a better word for that. Another little one. Quite intelligent there as well. If you look at what that bird just did now, whether it's conscious thought or just practice, and caught the little frog, and it only had it by the foot, so it knew that to drop it, it would probably get away. So it walked onto dry land first, and ate it there, and shush, another one. Cleaning it a bit as well, both for mud, but also quite a few of your frog and toad species. They've got a bit of a either foul tasting or irritating secretion that they secrete through the skin, so sometimes it's better to rinse them off a little bit first before you eat it. If you're a hammerkop, of course. Personally, I prefer something like a sandwich or a fruit. Jeez, like, how many is that? It's about 5 in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Shame, you can imagine all the little creatures living in that water. They're dependent on the water not only to live in, but also for their camouflage. That's where they get to hide out in. So as this is drying up more and more, that water nowhere now is deeper than a few centimeters. And of course it becomes very difficult to evade predators. There's the plover. Obviously very different types of food that they eat. If you look at the plover's design compared to the hammerkop, plover is a much smaller bird, longer legs. That tells you that they almost more adapted for wading into slightly deeper water. A much smaller beak, more pointy, so they can get more into the mud and little holes, eating smaller insects, where the hammerkop is a more sort of wider range of foods. It'll eat anything from little frogs like we saw now to fish and smaller insects and whatever else it can get. I think we're going to move on slowly. Always that we see them with that crest open. And if you look very carefully, you'll see it looks like they're eating off the tree bark. Now, I could be wrong, but I think they're probably eating just little bits of gum that's coming out of the bark. Most of your acacias have got a nice sweet... Oh, it's eating the leaves there actually. Look at that. Sure, they were eating some gum earlier as well. Most of your acacias have got very sweet gum. The most known of that is the sweet thorn. Gum was actually exported to Europe even in the late 1800s in the confectionery trade, but that stopped, I think, not too long into it. This is also eating the little green leaves, some new shoots for some reason coming off this tree. I don't know why. This one is doing it. And let me just move again. Nice to get such a good view of these birds. You see grey lories often enough, but normally just sitting around. It's nice to see them doing some of their behaviour, eating a little bit. Obviously sitting around is part of their behaviour as well. Look at that insect right there, see it? Right by the bird's head on the twig. And ants. As you can see, this bird is not an insect eater. Where? That's sort of roughly what they sound like when they call.